Greetings and welcome back to part 3 of how to build a cutscene. In this part we are going to be hammering out these cases to get the cutscene to really begin to flow into things to actually have happen. But before we do that, before we jump into things that we've kind of already done and that you might not find too useful to watch, let me give you a tip as you are building cutscenes on your own, something that will actually help you out a lot. Let's go into the cutscene parent and let's go into the step event. We're going to add something at the end step. That way the normal step event is not overridden. And this is actually going to be for debugging. So when you are building a cutscene, there's a couple things that are useful to know as you are working at it and actually watching the cutscene play out. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a specific debug in here that says if they press delete, then we're going to say show location is equal to true. And so let's come in here and we are actually going to create a variable called show location, which is normally false. And if this is true, we're going to do a debug message that says mouse X. So we're going to show the location of mouse X, which is just a constant variable like that GameMaker actually has built in, which is really useful. And then we're also going to show mouse Y. And to do that, you just change the Y and the Y over here. And what this does is it allows us to actually see where the characters are by hovering our mouse over them. So if I start this cutscene and I press delete, you can see down here in the debugger, now I can see exactly where my mouse is, which I can hover over my character to say, okay, this is where this character is. I need them to move down here. And then when they're down here, I need them to move over here. And you can get this picture of, you don't have to go to your room every time while the game is actually running. You can see if your characters are where they should be and where they need to go next. This is a really nice debugging thing. And what we can also do is throw in one more debugger that says which step they're on. So this is useful if for whatever reason your step is not moving on, like you're not getting anywhere, your cutscene isn't moving forward. So we're going to say show current step. And this is very useful for once you start having a lot of steps because you want to know where you are and where you are going towards. So we're at current step 0, then we're at 1, and then now we're at 2. 2 hasn't been defined yet, but we have moved from step to step. So that's great. You can obviously put whatever key you want to check on that. It doesn't really matter. This is just a way to debug as you are building your cutscene that I found very useful. With that aside though, let's go ahead and jump into building the cutscene itself. So we're on case 2, and what we want to do next is we're going to destroy the dialog box by calling instance destroy and passing in its unique ID. And then we want to move Sarah down. So we're going to say if objSarah.y doesn't equal 590, which is going down right down here. Again, I did this, I know the exact coordinates, which helps me a lot, but if you are working on your own cutscene, this may take you a lot of tries, especially if you have a lot of collisions, things that they can't run into, then you would have issues because if they run into the collision, then you have to change it again and again, and it can take some time, which is okay. It took me a long time to build this as well. So we're going to increase Sarah's Y. We're going to put her image speed equal to 1. And we're going to say her sprite index is equal to SPR Sarah walk down. And we're going to say else ++ current step. Now, let me give you a note that I am accessing the objects here specifically because I know for this cutscene that Sarah and Baldric are the characters that are going to be in it. Now, if you want to do a cutscene where it's more dynamic, where you may have different party members that show up depending on in the menu your player has said, I want to display this party member, then all you would need to do, instead of objSarah here, you might say something like player party 0 or whatever variable you have to hold your player party. You would just use that and then you would just say dot y, dot image, speed, whatever the case may be. And this will dynamically make it so that whatever character is on the screen, that's the one you'd be using. And that's a value you can also get at the beginning of the cutscene to see which player is in the beginning, and then you can reference them. I am building a cutscene here that is handcrafted because I know exactly where everything is, where all the characters are, and I know what I want to have happen. But there are times you may want a more free-flowing cutscene, and you want to have flexibility depending on who's in it and where they are. In that case, you wouldn't be doing something like this. You'd be using functions, something like move towards point. And this is a useful function, but it's limited in the sense that if I say move towards point Baldric over here, she's going to literally walk this direction and she's going to get stuck on one of these collisions. Now, if I had a DS grid in here that had all the collisions mapped out and I had smart AI, then I could use scripts and functions to say move to this spot wherever it may be and then do this thing dynamically. This is not that kind of cutscene. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments down below and I can work on something like that in the future because it's quite a bit more advanced. That is actually working on proper AI, DS, data structures, things like that. Something very fun and very useful, but that is not what this is specifically. Okay, enough rambling out of the way. That's case 2. Let's move on to case 3. Here, what I want to do is now move Sarah to the right. So, move to the right. I'm sorry, I can't type. We're going to say move down here. So case 3, if obj Sarah dot x doesn't equal 920, we're going to increase her x, and we're going to change her sprite index to SPR Sarah walk right. Else plus plus current step. And do not forget the break, because if you do, you'll have problems. So case 4 is move in front of Baldric. So now what I want to do is, she should be right over here. She should be right here, and I want to move her down and then over here so she confronts Baldric directly. So that means I need to say if obj Sarah.y doesn't equal 615, we're going to increase her y. And we're going to say obj Sarah.sprite index equals SPR Sarah walk down. Else plus plus current step and the break. Let's go ahead and run this really quick and make sure that everything's working. I see that I didn't capitalize this S, so let's go ahead and do that and run it again. Building a cutscene like this is tedious, but it will work and it will look pretty cool as well. So here she is, she's talking to him, she walks down here, she moves over, she walks like that, and I haven't told her to stop moving or anything, but she's right there, which is great. So now we can move on to the next case, because this is coming together really well. She is moving, things look good, they sound good with that music. All we have to do is just keep on doing more cases. So, case 5, obj Sarah.sprite index equals SPR Sarah walk right. So I want to move her to the right, and then I want to change her image speed equal to 0. Now, if instance exists, or doesn't exist in this case, obj dialog box, we're going to create it. We're going to say db equals instance create layer obj Sarah.x .y minus 75 objects obj dialog box, which is what we need, And then we're going to say db.myText. And this is where she is going to slap him. And we are going to decrement or decrease his health by 1. Current health minus equals 1. And we're going to play an audio sound, which we're going to input in just a second. And sound face slap. 1, 0. We don't want that to repeat. Okay, so we've done this, but we don't actually have these things yet. So let's do that really quick. Let's go into Baldric, and we're going to give him current health equals 10, and we're going to say max health equals 10. Because what we're going to do is add a draw event. We're going to add a draw GUI, and we're going to actually draw his health bar. The way that works is you draw a health bar, and I know exactly where to draw this health bar. If you're doing a cutscene, obviously you want to adjust these coordinates. So we're going to say 930, 10, which is the first X and Y coordinate. So it's going to be in the top right corner, right up here. And that's the X and Y coordinates. And the X2 says how long this should be. And I want it to be 100 pixels wide, which is 1030 minus 30. And how thick this should be is 20 minus 10 would be 10 pixels thick. We're going to say current health divided by max health times 100 is the value that we want. That amount will give us, allow us to decrement or increase his health and the health bar to actually look good the whole time it's doing it. And then I'm going to put in C black for the background color, C red for the minimum, C lime for the max, and the direction is just going to be default left to right. You can change that. And we're going to say show back and show border is true. And then all we have to do with that is draw text 855, and this is going to say health. And we're going to draw text at 950 and 20. That is the string of current health. So I want to actually draw the numbers here. And we're going to say, put a divider in here, plus string max health. Now, we use this function string because current health, max health, and even this, these two are integers, and when we put a plus sign next to integers, it's trying to add them together, but we don't actually want to add them together. We want to do something called concatenate them, where we append the strings. We put the strings together to make one long sentence. We don't want to try to add those letters together. So if I directly tell it, this is a string, use this as concatenation, not addition, then what happens is we get his health in the top right corner. See right there? Beautiful. Now, I would play the cutscene, but one thing you have to do first is come into Sounds, create a new one, and call it Sound Face Slap. Come over here, and we want to go into Assets, and use the Face Slap. Now, let's run this and see where we're at. Inside of here, I'm right up against the treasure box. Let's play it and watch this cutscene unfold. Perfect. His health went down, the sound effect activated, the dialog box is there. Okay, that's awesome. I'm going to end this part here. We've covered, again, a lot. We covered a couple of useful things like debugging and actually affecting objects' variables and such, which is very useful because in a cutscene you may need things to actually permanently change, and you can do that. And we've gotten to case 6 now, which is where we are. So let's go ahead and put in a break, because I forgot it. Throw in case 6, and this is where we're going to pick up in part 4. Thank you for joining me. As always, have fun making great games, and I will talk to you later. If you'd like to support me in making these game dev tutorials, consider sponsoring me on Patreon. The awesome people currently supporting me are on the screen, and they get cool benefits like one-on-one training sessions, early access to videos, and more. Check it out in the link below or visit patreon.com/beyondusgames.